time for another. It's going to suck the life out of me. I can't stop listening podcast in my life, but this one I need.
So what? I mean, because we cover a wide range of stuff.
Yeah, what do you like about it? Tell us more.
So, well, by the way, I should welcome the Clean and Sober Stoner.
Thank you.
What I love about it is how I hear so many cross sections to my own life. And I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend. Like, I'm really struggling with video editing. And I have crossed some thresholds in my skill set that are amazeballs to me. And there's no one I can talk to. It's like, it's not like I can go, wow, I actually figured out this 2-beat transition thing and it just worked. And the audio was 3 frames off from the video, and I figured out a quick fix, and there's no one I can talk to. So when I read certain books, when I listen to certain music, when I watch certain TV shows, there's no one to talk to about it, especially during pandemic when Dark came out. So I'm doing research, getting ready for this, and it's like, oh my God. It is exactly the conversation I have in my head. It's the conversation that I want to have about dark. I want to hear about is there deeper meaning between the drone? Obviously, it's a crane shot, like going over the woods. And during the narration and the Albert Einstein quote, it's like, so it's refreshing. It's wonderful. I found your YouTube channel, one of my stories. And so my life is now over. My production deadlines are done. They're blown out.
I wanted you to say my life is now complete.
Right.
Not my life is over.
I saved that for Julie. Like this would exist for all time. Yeah, I have to be careful. No, but in a way it does complete, because one of my frustrations with Doom and Stoner Doom and the Heavy Underground is it's all these tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of individual stories, right? And we're not that good at sharing our stories of the music, how we found it, how it affects us.
Okay, sure.
The gatekeepers, the people that do it, I do the reviewers, they paint the scene with a certain size brush, and it's always the same brush. Stoner Doom is boring and unoriginal and not worth paying attention to. Nothing could be farther from the truth. There's Americana Doom, there's country Doom, there's the type of melancholy synthesizer melodic Doom
that you're
Lindsey, doing.
That's us.
Oh, okay. Is that it? Thank you.
There's so many. So your podcast reminds me that I'm part of a bigger community, even though I don't know, these people. Okay. The bigger channels are too interested in putting things down and shooting things down. And yours is not only a celebration of creativity, but it's a celebration of how that creativity inspires you. Mm-hmm. And Lindsey, your story of you didn't have the skill set to do the podcast, and now these years later, you're able to read your written essays on it and do it. It's inspirational. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess you did. It's another piece to the puzzle.
Well, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. No. Seriously, though, I mean, that means a lot. Like, I don't actually hear a lot of feedback from anybody about anything I do.
We don't hear feedback.
We have a lot of people in common, though, Scott. I mean, clean and sober stoner dude. We have a lot of common people, and I have a list here of people that I know Book of Worms, Pegzilla, Iwis, who I've had on my podcast. Of course, Titanosaur, who's been on my podcast twice.
Wait, you've had Blake on your podcast?
Not a switch out of time. I had him on my animals podcast, and he came in and we talked animal talk for an hour. It's a podcast that a one-off podcast I did called This Week in Animals, and I spent a good week with Blake.
This is a perfect time for me to publicly. Blake is a staff writer for Clean and Sober Stoner.
I had no idea.
And he'll be making his interviewing video debut with the band Ard. We have a pre-production meeting Monday, and I think he's doing the interview on the 4th. So he's an integral part of the team.
Tell him Introvoid says hello. I certainly hope he remembers me. He must.
Keep going with this list. I'm loving this list.
Voidmaster. Voidmaster is a guy that me and Lindsey work with and communicate with on a regular basis. Nate, he's been on my podcast 19 times, as a matter of fact. I wrote down a list here. Lindsey's been on 38 of my episodes. Nate's been on 19 of my episodes, and my other friend James has been on 45 of my episodes. So I do a lot of back and forth. But you're friends with a lot of them, though, Scott. Future Projector, another Richmond band, and I have to shout out Astral Construct. Just recently, he gave everybody a playlist to put their stuff on, and I love what he's doing.
So he's been a good friend to the channel. He's been a good friend to Instagram, and I owe him a million apologies. I still haven't been able to squeeze in the time to get him on here.
He's accessible. Do it. Come on.
I haven't. I will. It's just I never expected Clean and Sober Stoner to take off the way it has, where I'm getting 30 unsolicited 30 requests a week, which is amazeballs, and then with Doom Charts I get up to 200 a week.
We like your vibe. That's why.
Ironically, my time to listen to music has gone down massively because I'm editing, producing. I'm also a producer and contributor for Bass Gear magazine, which has also taken off. So all of a sudden I'm busy. As I believe it or not, I'm a therapist. I have no time for my patients anymore.
Okay, you might be a good match for one of my stories then, because she's interviewed a therapist recently.
Well, we did a movie thing together. It was on the podcast, not the YouTube channel, but it was she's a wellness coach, and we did a review of Perfect Days, the movie about the guy who cleans toilets in Tokyo, and she's a life coach. I'm a film critic. So I was trying to give her a platform basically to promote her services. She treated it as Toriyama is one of her clients. How would she coach him? And so that way we could talk about the movie while she also promoted what she could do for you, and maybe people will book her services after listening to it. So it was really fun. Yes.
Yeah, there's another 20 hours of my life gone. Now I have to listen.
It's only an hour.
Awesome.
That was only an hour. So
you all do these marathon 2 hour and 17 minute
we like talking to each other. I mean, we just enjoy, we let each other talk a lot. I interrupt Lindsey more than she interrupts me.
Steve always says, this won't be that long, I don't think, this time, but yeah.
But yeah, we just have the gift of gab with each other, and we vibe. So, that's all there is to it. And we've started doing music together, Scott. Did you realize that? I'm going to...
It's funny you should say that, because somebody anonymously sent me this piece called The Wishing Well.
Neat. Okay.
I believe, now, has that been debuted or is it debuting?
It's debuting. It hasn't been released yet. We have it set for a May 1st release. So we've just done minor promotion for it. I've pitched it to the Spotify editors and all that kind of stuff. But May 1st is when it's officially getting released. And I don't know when you'll be dropping this, but you're the first person outside of our group of friends, I guess, who is hearing this. So, you got to think back now, because, we're podcasters, and we recorded this on podcasting gear. Of course I use my guitar and my tube amp for the guitar and for the bass, but I used a podcast mic. Lindsey will tell you how she recorded the vocals. I used podcasting software. She has done vocals for In the Woods Somewhere, a single that we put out, but she used.
I've
Yeah,
heard it.
great. And so, yeah, what are you doing with those vocals, Lindsey? You're sending them over to me, but how are you actually recording them?
Well, the In the Woods Somewhere was really funny. I told Steve, I said I forgot to take a picture of this, but I was trying to avoid hearing me breathing as much because I recorded on my phone, basically. I tried to record it on my podcast mic, but the beginning of every phrase would not record. It was catching me like, So I was like, I'm just going to record this on my phone, but I would turn the phone around and put a bandana over my mouth to mute it a little bit. And then I stuck my laptop on my cat tree, the tree that my cat uses to climb and sit above me, and then put the headphones over, plugged those in so I could listen to the Steve's playing while I was singing, and recorded it that way. Now, for this song, for Wishing Well, I heard from a young man that records jazz vocals that he likes to record in his car. So I decided to try that this time. So I took my cell phone into the car. I brought the bandana, but it was a little hot and I couldn't breathe. So I took the bandana off. But apparently I need to put a sock over the phone, and maybe that will work as a pop filter. So I'm really just kind of playing around with things right now. Music isn't my normal. I've been singing my whole life, but I sing at church, I sing in choirs. It's not recording music. So I might need to get some recording equipment eventually. But for now, I'm just recording on my cell phone and sending the tracks to Steve. And sometimes, like on Wishing Well, I added some extra vocal layers onto it, and I sent those to him as well and said, putting these in XYZ positions and see what it sounds like. And then he's kind of also doing things on his own to mix it. So, but that's for the vocal recording.
Nate, we can't leave out Voidmaster. Voidmaster is the one who suggested the sock puppet. He was like, yeah, you got to put a sock in it, Lindsey. And, we're trading tracks with him too, because we're kind of like a trio, Lindsey, myself, and Nate. Somehow we've found ourselves in a group that has been going for like a year and a half strong now, and we try to podcast whenever we can, but Nate is always holding us back. Isn't that right, Lindsey? Can we shame Nate real quick?
Well, he's just busy, but he sent us some songs he did for, what was the extra
Snore,
project?
yes.
Snore demos. So yeah, we can promote him real quick. He's got this is on SoundCloud. He has 3 or 4 tracks now he's calling Snore Demos. That is his side project apart from Voidmaster. And so he recorded a musical song, and I created some vocals for the song and some lyrics, and we're kind of in progress with that. I sent him those tracks. He hasn't done anything with them yet, but because I was sort of like, I'm gonna just take this over. I'm gonna say, like, Nate, what do you think? Do you like me singing with your song? So I'm trying to get my vocal career started, I guess. So if anybody wants a female vocalist to record things on a cell phone with a sock over it, let me know.
That's what I was going to say about Nate. Nate is going to be sharing some gear with Lindsey. He offered to send her some recording microphones. So hopefully that comes in the future.
Why? Why? At this point, I've heard your vocals, Lindsey. They're good. Why? You have a unique delivery. I had a feeling there's a little bit of jazz behind it, and a little bit of, it's very pure, it's very natural. No, if anything, do it in a shoebox, and no, I'm kidding, of course, but so. Now, I have not listened to Wishing Well yet. I'm going in clean, but I did listen to, I think it's called In the Woods. Okay. What are we about to listen to? Well, let's give us some background on what this is and why this is.
Oh, that's good. Do you want to take that, Steve?
I mean, kind of, but do you want to take that, Lindsay?
I can.
Yeah, go for it.
both,
I'll back you up.
You may realize this, Scott, already, since you are apparently are a fan of Dark, but Steve and I have done exhaustive recaps on the series Dark, and we wanted to continue our fandom. So we decided to record, so far, both of the songs we've done are tracks that are used in the series Dark during their, before the end of the episode, there's always a long montage where it's the time that you have to breathe as a viewer before the final hurrah. And these are two songs we both liked. Now, originally, Steve wanted to do the peppy song that happens when dear Helge gets into a car crash, but I just told Steve, no, that's not my thing. I need to sing some bleak, morose songs. So let's do. And these are the two that I picked him. I was like, I like these two songs. I think they would work for my voice. And Wishing Well, we did change the key of the original track because I felt like it was a little high for my voice, my power range, my Power Ranger. So so that's kind of the story, but I really like this song. It's the lyrics are very simple, but both of us were also trying to figure out, what is this song really about? And we came up with the fact that we think it's a song about you're going to the wishing well because you're kind of hoping in this idealistic, very naive way that your love is going to come back to you. And so they talks about going to the wishing well and leaving the light on. And so it's a very it's almost like a fairy tale. Someday my prince will come, but in a much more sort of gritty way. And Steve, do you want to say anything else about it?
Geez, I don't know. I mean, you covered it all. I guess I'll go into the other how we came about being actually recorded is, the first thing Lindsay said was she wanted to change the key. So we agreed on it goes from G to E minor are the two major notes in it. So I had to tune my bass down. I had to tune everything down one step so I could get that lower, I'm sorry, E flat. It goes from G to E flat is what I meant to say. So I had to tune everything down like a half a step. So the first thing I did was record the bass line and just listen to a click track and just recorded the bass line. And then I added a synth bass on top of that. And that's the first thing that we had going. And I think I sent that back to Lindsay with just a very common beat on top of it, just asking her if that was okay. She gave it the okay. So then I added the guitar on top of that, just using basically delay pedal. What was it? Delay, EQ. I used a phaser on there, and I had my East River Drive electro harmonics pedal on there. So that's what I'm doing, just basically playing the 4 or 5 notes pretty repetitively, but because of the delay, it adds a lot to it. And then, we found some interesting instruments that we agreed on to put in the background because I use a software called Soundtrap, which I used to use for my podcasting, but I've since moved away from it. But I found that Soundtrap is really easy to put music together with and do simple things like, fade in, fade out. There's an organ on there and there's a string quartet that we added on there to just kind of give it a more full sound. So this is not really Doom, but I think it's Doom adjacent, mostly because of Lindsay's vocals. She has a real, her vocal style reminds me of PJ Harvey, Emma Ruth Rundle. That's basically who I think of when I hear Lindsay's vocals. And of course, those are, ladies of Doom, but they're not exactly Doom either. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of heavy guitars and stuff in there. So, That's what I got to say about that, Scott. And I'm very nervous. Why did we bring it to you? Like, why did we do this? This is a really bad idea to like make you listen to it cold and have us watch your face. This is a terrible idea. So we should probably get on with it, I guess.
That's why it's my favorite. And by the way, to tell my own horn, nobody else on YouTube does this. I don't think in the history of music, my first one was with a band called Clean.
Yeah,
and we've since become very good friends. Oh God, and their album's coming out. And it was such a high risk move. And I'm addicted to it. So I did it with King Bastard last week. That was...
Yeah, I heard that too. That's why I'm like, oh man, maybe I made a bad mistake here, kind of trying to follow King Bastard. I like to like their tone that they use on their instruments. I like to call that unobtainium. Because I can't quite get there. You know what I'm saying? That's like how I want to sound is how King Bastard sounds. It's wonderful. We're doing the best we can.
And when you find that, when I found out they recorded that live in one day, yeah. It's recorded live in the studio.
Well, I mean, we kind of did the same thing too. Everything was recorded live in one day, and then we took about 2 weeks to mix it. So we have this King Bastard. Yeah. We're coming for you.
Yeah, this is it. This is our follow-up to King Bastard. We expect massive intensity. This is intense in a different way. I don't want to make light of it.
Sweating.
I'm familiar enough with your other work. You have more available on Spotify than on Bandcamp. Yeah. But it's all really good, compelling stuff. And not all the Dooms is loud and distorted. Doom is like I said earlier, there's Americana Doom, there's Synth Doom, Hope Hole, who I interviewed last year. So I think the audience is going, Jesus, dude, come on.
Oh, Scott, can I say one more thing about the track?
Of course.
I just wanted to plug something I think is very cool about the song, which is the strings that Steve added on, because those weren't there originally. And when I heard the strings, for me, they were the missing piece. And when I heard the strings, I thought of the violin music in Psycho, not the stabbing music, but the kind of leading up to the stabbing music and after. There's kind of this very sinister string music, and it was the perfect addition for this song. So listen for that at the end of the song. It's throughout. It's not just at the end, but at the end, I find it to leave that note of sinisterism, menacing note there at the end that I really like about the song, because that's when I listen to music, I listen for the layers. I listen for that little extra thing that makes me lean in and say, I really like that, and so that's just me. I'm not really familiar with the Doom genre, so I'm getting an education also as and in fact, I had to ask Steve, are we heavy enough for this guy, for this show? Like, because I watched some of your other episodes to prepare, and I thought, are we enough for him?
Yeah.
But I guess you agreed to this, so
we're gonna find out. I don't pull punches. I mean,
we're excited.
I'll tell you what.
We're excited. I'm very excited. I've never done anything like this before. So
let's take a deep breath. Let's get ready to get dark. Let's get into that mood where, the things that are really the scariest are the quietest, the most subtle. The ones that are, you can see them coming a mile away. This should sneak up on us. So let's share the experience, man. Ooh, that's nice. That's smart.
There's a creeping down all up my spine. I gotta find you for the light. There's a creeping down all up my spine.
Layers.
Did I ever leave the light on? Could you ever find your way back home? Did I ever leave the light on? Could you ever find your way back home? Darling, where are you now? I don't find you down in the wishing well. Darling, where are you now? I don't find you down in the wishing well. I don't find you down in the wishing well. Darling, where are you now? Gonna find you down in the wishing well. Darling, where are you now? Gonna find you down in the wishing well.
That's nasty.
It's nasty.
Find you down in the wishing well.
That was nasty.
It's nasty what you can do with the phone.
But so there's so much about that I love. What I really appreciate is the patience of the piece. How did you avoid the temptation to fill it with a whole bunch of stuff?
I wanted to showcase Lindsey's voice, so that's why. I wanted to keep it
Yeah.
about Lindsey.
Yeah.
She put a lot of tracks into that. You heard her Beach Boys pet sound moment there at the end. I didn't want to mess with
did.
that, so that's why I kept it very quiet. Kept the guitar very, very quiet. You have to really listen for it. So yeah, just to showcase the vocals.
The bass is a little hotter than I would have expected, and it makes it so much more unsettling. It's a really unsettling piece in all the right ways. But again, the patience of the piece, and then it almost sounds like you're a marimba or a vibraphone at the end. I'm assuming that was a keyboard or
It's a synth program
of some
yes.
sort. It was a little bit offbeat at times that I thought that really, really worked. It added to the atmosphere of it and very unsettling. Lindsey, what's it like for you, a perfect stranger listening to your vocals and commenting? It has to be, I think there's the dentist chair. I think there's certain doctor's visits and then this.
I don't know. I've become quite proud of my voice. It's interesting because growing up, I have a sister. My older sister was classically trained. Everybody saw her as the singer, and we were all sort of in her shadow. And so my thing was harmonies and being able to do harmonies.
Oh, okay.
And so I sang in the choir. I could hold parts. but I was never really the soloist. And in fact, I don't know if I've told Steve this, but at my last church that I was at, they actually kicked me out of the worship team and said, "We don't want you anymore.
Yikes!
You don't fit us. We don't." They didn't. They were a little bit nicer than that, but I was like, I can't believe I got kicked out of a church worship team. Really, maybe I really suck and I don't realize it. Then at my new church here, which it took me about 2 years after the pandemic to find another one, I asked the worship team guy if I could audition for him, and it's amazing because the people will come up to me after the service and they'll just tell me, "I really love your voice." And I try to say, "Well, what is it you like about it?" Because I'm a words person. I like words of affirmation. That's my love language. Tell me more about what you like about me. So, but with this song, see, I'm very picky about my voice, and Steve took what I sent him and engineered it brilliantly. And I was like, I like this. I like the way it sounds. It sounds like me, but yet it doesn't sound like me because it's distorted. The vocal tracks are definitely just very distorted. Mm-hmm. So, but I like that. And that's the beauty of a sound engineer, to be able to take something and craft it. And I know Steve will, he says he still has a long way to go, but I thought it was brilliant what he did with it. And especially with the violins, I agree with you. And adding in, I said I thought it sounded a little bit like a xylophone or a marimba, the little doom, doom.
Oh, that's a bell. That's a bell organ is what that is. Yes.
It worked. It was unexpected, but it didn't distract. It's like, oh yes, that belongs there. Again, the patience of the piece, because you could have easily put in some more guitar work.
Yeah.
You could have easily put in more of a drone.
I thought about it,
but you let the bass carry it. And I really appreciate the fact that you didn't.
Oh, cool.
I really like this. I mean, I'm a little surprised at how much I actually like this.
Actually, wow.
It's well, okay. To be fair, you two were a little. You're like, yeah, I don't know if this is for him. So at that point, I'm like, what have I gotten into? And then, but this. You're right. It has that Emma Ruth Rundle, maybe even a Chelsea Wolfe, but also a little bit of Bjork.
Okay, I'll take that. Sure.
A little bit of, because, well, the song itself is a little quirky. It's definitely in that minor key. It's fluctuating back and forth between two chords, which reminds me of the next question to ask. Lindsey, you don't know much about the Doom scene, right? Okay, so me and Steve are now going to play a little game, and we're going to invite the audience along. Put us in the comments. I'll let you go first because I'm an evil bastard. If we were to make a playlist for Lindsey, not to overwhelm her with Yob and Beware of Gods and all this, but really a playlist showing Lindsey that her voice belongs in Doom, what would be the first?
It would have to be my hometown heroes, Wind Hand. They're also from Richmond, Virginia, and I've seen them here multiple times. Makes total sense because it's a female vocalist in a Doom band. You guys would get along great, Lindsey. And I would say the song choice would be Halcyon, I suppose. That would be my choice for the list. First off.
Okay. And that's right. I did say playlist, so you're going to throw a song. I'm a boomer. I have now forgotten all of my key knowledge because I'm on. I think Mesa.
Okay.
And I think the song would be She Knows off of the album Feast for Water. Just, it's her and a electric piano. And that's basically all it is. And then it leads into my favorite. It's a 1-2 punch that just kills me every time. don't throw me under the bus with songs. What other band would you put on? We'll do like three
sure.
each.
I'm trying to decide between quite a few here. I guess I'll go with Brutus. First off, this is the band that I've shared with Lindsey. Also features a female vocalist, but she also plays drums. Are you familiar with Brutus? Yep.
Yes, I am. You saw I'm like, whoa, someone knows Brutus.
That's me. Like I'm deeply in love with that band and have been for months now. And yeah, I would absolutely throw a Brutus song on there, maybe two.
I'd also throw in, staying with Windhand, and at the same time Italian, the band Haunted. They just released a new album. They are similar vein to Windhand until they're not. But Christina's vocals, I think you'd really get a kick out of hearing Haunted.
Great.
And then let's see, my absolute favorite doom stoner band, top of my list. Nobody shoot me because it's a very hot take. I love The Sword. Absolutely love them. My wife and myself used to cover Freya. And I have a video, if you look at my Instagram, under my, I think Intravoid and Rebecca Crow. I have like a cover, like me and Heather doing Freya. I could absolutely see, it's a male singer in The Sword. But I would have to introduce you to The Sword, Lindsey, because it's like my all-time favorite band of that genre. So I want to share that with you. I might do it in our thread later today.
Thanks for The Sword, love. They don't get nearly enough love. They were really hot
Yes.
10, 12 years ago. That was really nice. Another one that I would throw in there is King Buffalo, especially their first album, Orion, just to give you a taste of the slower, the less it's not amplifier worship, it's song worship with King Buffalo, and I think you would become probably a King Buffalo addict. They're one of the top two bands. I have one more suggestion. I'll save the number one band, but King Buffalo with a Bullet. I think it would really open your eyes into, oh wow, this is wonderful. Okay, one more each.
Let's see, you've already heard Void Master and Intravoid, so I'm not going to mention them, I suppose. I suppose I have a tendency to want to go with these female-fronted vocalists because that's what I like, too. So I'm going to go with another one, and I'll say Mares of Thrace. Great band. It's a two-man band or a two-person band, I suppose, where the lead vocalist also plays a baritone guitar. And they are playing with some buddies of mine, Scott. Book of Worms is doing a show with Mares of Thrace up in Maryland. And Lindsey, I've actually thought about driving up to that show, believe it or not, because I love that band so much. But yeah, Mares of Thrace for you. You would like her style.
Okay. My last one for this, because I honestly, we should do a podcast, you and I, playlist. We can call it a playlist for Lindsey, and we just throw stuff out there.
Then we'll do it.
Okay. Elder and Spirit at Athelion. I'll actually pick a song on that. I think Elder, because Elder transcends genre. They play on a level of, yes, King Crimson and Genesis from the 70s, but without sounding anything like them. I read a review that, because they just toured with Tool, that said they were rehashed Black Sabbath. I'm like,
no,
there isn't a Black Sabbath chord transition, pentatonic scale in any of the Elder. So I think, we will put together the playlist for Lindsey. Everybody check it out down below. Steve and I will send some things back and forth so we can do some cross promotion on this. But I think you have the voice for Doom for a certain type, and okay. What's next? Do you plan on recording and doing an interpretation of all the songs?
No.
then can we get the 1899 volume?
Oh man, we got to do the wizard. Hell yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what we're wanting to do, and but so I was telling Steve about this thing called used to be Wizard Rock, right? It was all the people that really love Harry Potter, and they would sing songs based on the characters of Harry Potter. So they would write a song as if they were Harry Potter or Draco Malfoy, and it became this thing. And so we've been talking about making some songs based on the characters and stories of Dark.
Yes.
So original music, not covers. And Steve already wrote a track, which is on his page, that's Sic Mundus Creatus Est, and there's no vocals on that track yet. So that might be our first project. He sent me the lyrics he has. I have some thoughts about those lyrics and maybe adding or maybe changing them and seeing what he thinks of it, or we could just stick with his original vocals. But he already has a melody. I think I could sing that, but I'd love to do some songs based on Noah, Katarina, Ulrich, all of our favorite characters about their. Well,
Marta?
Sure, we won't leave Marta out. Don't worry.
She's my favorite. You know, I tried to join your Facebook group, and
Yes,
it's like,
I've
"What's
let
your
you
favorite
in. You've been
character?"
accepted.
And I'm like,
yes.
"Oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
I am in the Facebook group. Hold on,
Even though
somewhere."
you said Marta,
hold
we
on.
still
I'm
let you
the
in anyway.
moderator. I'm quick. As long as people answer those 2 questions, but you won't believe how many people don't answer the questions, so they don't get in. Sorry.
Answer the questions.
If you can't even tell me who your favorite character is,
I hate.
you're not getting in the group to give me your crypto scheme.
Oh, it is Martha.
Yeah.
Or Marta. She's my favorite. My heart bled for her. She was, to me, she was the emotional grounding in the center of the story for me. That it was just her facial
Now,
expressions
which Marta?
alone.
Which
Just
Marta is your favorite?
That
Marta?
the
OG Marta.
of course.
Okay.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Why dark?
What?
I can answer that.
Go ahead,
Yeah, I can answer that.
And I'll add
And yeah,
on
I
if
wanna-
you forget anything.
Yeah, okay. And I want to back up what Lindsey was saying. Yeah, we do want to work on some original music based around Dark. And I also sent you that song. I think it's called Jonas Never Told Us. Did you ever get that one, Lindsey? It's more of like an upbeat kind of like synth track. It kind of sounds like something that would be on Stranger Things. Maybe you didn't get that one.
No, I
But
think-
anyway,
I think
yeah.
you did send it to me.
Okay, and it got rejected. So what happened was I was doing Wheel of Time. My podcast was supposed to be based around Wheel of Time. It's called Sweet Child of Time because I'm like a Game of Thrones fan, and I was bringing my friend James into the fold. And after Wheel of Time was over, we ran out of material. I still wanted to keep podcasting. 1899, I was hearing about 1899. It was going to be premiering on Netflix. So I was like, I can jump on this like from the very beginning because I like the production team. I like all the promotional material they put out about this thing so far. So I gathered up Nate from Voidmaster, and you know, we started doing the 1899 podcast. And while we were doing that, subsequently, like another reviewer critic was also doing 1899, and that's Lindsey. She was on her own doing 1899 stuff on her website. So she would write letters into our podcast. We would read the letters. She would, and we also had like a group thread. That's where our group thread started with her, myself, and Nate. That's still been going strong. And so once we ran out of 1899 material, they canceled the show. What did we do next? Obvious next step was a dig into Dark because Lindsey had already reviewed seasons 1 and not reviewed, deep dive recapped season 1 and 2 in the written form on her website, one of my stories. And of course, I've already read all those. And that was my idea. I was like, we could do a recap of them. And we already got like our source material right here. We just have to like watch the episode a few times, take some detailed notes, pick some things to deep dive on. And that's pretty much what we did. Like, if you wanted to, you could listen to our podcast and you could hear Lindsey's entire written recap because she would read every word of it, but then we would pause,
Yeah.
you know, every paragraph or so to discuss it. So that's how dark was. It started out from 1899 basically, and just we found that was in common with one another to show that we both just happen to love. So that's like our commonality, I suppose.
It's a horrible show. Stay away from it. It will absolutely absorb your life. It's like
It's addictive, yeah.
I love everything about it. I especially, I think the first thing that jumped out to me was the production value, and the sound. What mic are you
This
sporting?
is just a
Steven?
Mayano, is what it is. It's like a knockoff of it's a knockoff mic. So it's just called a Mayano. Yeah, I agree.
Great.
It was the when you look on Amazon and you like do your filters, like it's the best, highest rated mic for the price of under $100. That Mayano.
Nice.
I have a
and what do
Yeti
you have,
Blue.
Lindsay?
Ooh, the classic.
Ooh,
And how about yourself, Scott? We got to ask you.
I have the Rode USB.
Another classic.
Just because I being audio interfaces, there's always a little bit of lag when I'm working with them, and it was the simplest. And at $150, it is just you get it, you plug it in, you're ready to go. I'm looking seriously at the Shure SM7B.
I have one of those. I don't like it for podcasting. It's good for recording guitar and bass. I prefer this for podcasting though, because it just picks up a lot more of the mids of your voice. Whereas for some reason the Shure, you have to like get right up on it, like kissing it to be able to get like the same clarity from it.
Wait, so you're not kissing?
No,
it
I mean
right now?
there's
I mean,
like, a lot of space between here and a lot of space between here.
I've got a good foot, 2 feet. Otherwise, it picks up every breath.
Yeah.
I sound like Brent. I don't know if you're old enough. Brenda Vaccaro did these commercials in the 70s, 80s, where when she breathed, like all the boomers right now are laughing. I just got them. Okay, before we go, when you do original dark material, can you at least give us a shot? Getting you guys on so we can listen.
Yes.
And not even the first time. It doesn't have to be a live reaction, because I think there's crossover here, and I think the dark audience, if they heard Windhand, if they heard Mesa, if they heard Haunted, if they heard some of these other Doom bands with the female vocalists, I think Doom writ large could get bigger. Doom isn't just
Right. It's about the subtle layers. Like the show Dark, just like a Doom song, you have a song that's like based on guitar, but you put it through a few pedals, you put it through the right kind of amp with the right kind of tones. The same with Dark, it's shot on film, but I mean they use these certain filters, they use this music behind it that creates the mood. The direction is great, so the actors are always really expressive with their facial expressions, and so it can be classified as like Doom, in my opinion.
well, it is. It's very slow, so it'd be like the equivalent of 50 beats per minute. Not quite 60, but it's very slow, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. And then it goes, then it lets you catch your breath. And it reminds me of other bands like Funeral Doom, mostly Ahab, Bell Witch. I equate, honestly, Dark more to Bell Witch, I think, than any other, just because of the pathos. It is heartbreaking when you find out what's actually going on. And I don't believe we do, because they leave a lot. It's like, wait a minute. Really?
We figured it out.
It's heartbreaking. It's you see. So follow the podcast, Sweet Child the Time podcast, and then Lindsay's is one of my stories, and I think you should have a huge audience, and if I get one or two of your audience to sub,
Yeah.
And vice versa.
awesome.
Heck yeah.
Great crossover appeal. Stephen, Lindsay, I can't thank you enough. I've really been looking forward to this. I was telling Julie, I was like, this is going to be fun. She's like, well, what are you doing? I explained. She's like, wait, really? I went, yes. Doom isn't all about amplifier worship. It's feeling. It's shared humanity, and sometimes it's kind of miserable. Lindsey, I've been talking over you for like 10 minutes. How was this for you?
I love it. I was once I was in for the decision, I was just very excited and seeing who else, what other shows can we be on that they'll listen to our songs. I want to do more of this, so let us know. I didn't know nothing about music promotion, nothing at all. So, but this is exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. Love to have you back on, especially with original material. And yeah, let's set up a date. So part 2 of this discussion will take place on Sweet Child of Time.
Sometime in June.
Day and time to
Yes,
be announced.